Now, I know what anti-Semitism is, and I don't like being lectured by those who seek to proclaim themselves as representatives of the Jewish community. I won't accept lectures on anti-Semitism from those who have neither experienced it or fought it. Now, I'm not going to exaggerate my experience. I have not suffered discrimination or exclusion in the way that black and Asian people have and still do, but I did suffer prejudice. How many times as a child was I told that Hitler should have finished the job and sent the Jews to the gas chambers? I was told that when I was 6. I was told that you Jews killed our Jesus and laughed at when I tried to patiently explain that Jesus was a Jewish leader. Yes, I was already a political activist at the age of 6. How many times have I had to walk out of football grounds when fans of my team, I'm an out West Ham fan, so take it or leave it, when fans of my team were singing I've never felt more like gassing the Jews. Now, my experience of anti-Semitism, when I was young especially, made me feel an outsider, a feeling I'd never lost. I also learned lessons from my father about fighting the fascists at Cable Street in the east end of London in the 1930s, how the Jewish East End, in alliance with the Dockers and other sections of the Labour movement, stopped Mosley's fascist thugs. And these experiences and learning about the traditions of Jewish socialism led me into anti-racist struggles, made me a socialist internationalist, and at the age of 19, 50 years ago, I joined the party. And I've been a member of 8 different constituency parties, and my experience over half a century is that I've hardly ever encountered anti-Semitism in the party. Indeed, the party has been a safe haven for me. It's been a refuge. I've come across anti-Semitism once directly in the party, in Hackney North, when an idiot came out with anti-Semitic filth. The secretary, smoke coming out of her ears, called for his eviction from the meeting. Passed unanimously, didn't even have the nous to vote against it, and he was never seen again. Now, I'm sensitive to anti-Semitism. I have a sixth sense about it. I know what it is, and I also know what it isn't. So what is the problem? There was no problem until that lifelong anti-racist Jeremy Corbyn became leader. Just remember who was the previous leader. His name was Ed Miliband. He was Jewish. And who was the main challenger? His brother, David, also Jewish. Clearly all those anti-Semites in the party were doing rather a poor job. He became leader, Jeremy, and it all started. He was a threat, of course, to the right wing of the party because he was a socialist, and because of his pro-Palestinian record, a threat to supporters of the State of Israel. Jeremy became leader, and all of a sudden, the party has a major problem with anti-Semitism. Now look, let's be clear, the Labour Party is part of society. In my opinion, it's the best part of society, but it's part of society nonetheless. And there are examples, of course, of anti-Semitism in the Labour Party, and no one should deny it. But from my experience, it is underrepresented in the party, just as you would expect, and just as the data that Jenny Formby gave out reveals. And what we've seen is a pincer attack, with sections of the right wing joining up with pro-Israel supporters and manufacturing a crisis that largely does not exist. And they do it with the simple means of conflating anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism. And a lot of this has been done with the support of the Jewish labour movement, an affiliated organisation of the party that is Zionist in its constitution and supports Israel. So who are the main victims of this? Firstly, Jews themselves, anti-Zionist Jews, such as Moshe Machova, renowned 82-year-old Israeli professor of philosophy, Glyn Secker, the JVL secretary, a lifelong anti-racist. Both of those were suspended and lifted within a few days. And also my partner, Jackie Walker, suspended for 2.5 years, about to face charges on the 26th and 27th March, and, believe you me, without doubt facing expulsion. So firstly, it's the Jews. Secondly, black anti-racist activists like Mark Wadsworth, expelled, and Jackie again. And thirdly, probably the best anti-racist leader this party has ever produced, Ken Livingstone, forced out for daring to examine the history of the Havara Agreement in the 1930s, by which some Zionist organisations played a role in breaking the anti-Hitler trade boycott that threatened to bring the new Nazi government to its knees. And now, Chris Williamson. And why does this matter? Because it is used to undermine the best leader this party's ever had. Because it is a diversion from the fight against the Tories and their austerity programme. Because it's used to conflate anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism and silence criticism of the State of Israel and Palestinian rights, and close down discussion on key historical issues. Comrades don't have to agree with me on any of this, but let's have the discussion and let's not make it out of bounds. Because it separates anti-Semitism from all other forms of racism and obscures the racism against black and Asian people, which structurally excludes them from power in society and within our party. Because it's a slur on our party, which has a proud record of fighting all forms of racism. And above all, as someone who's experienced anti-Semitism, it hinders the fight against anti-Semitism itself. This is particularly odious, the way false allegations of anti-Semitism are being used for factional interest and abuse of the memory of all victims of anti-Semitism and racism. And if we don't put an end to this, it will come back to haunt us.